Well, here we are, the president once again at odds with U.S. intelligence officials, claiming that he's seen evidence that the novel coronavirus originated in a Chinese lab.
Have you seen anything at this point that gives you a high degree of confidence that the Wuhan Institute of Virology was the origin of this virus?
Yes, I have.
And what gives you a high degree of confidence that this originated from the Wuhan Institute of Virology?
I can't tell you that. I'm not allowed to tell you that.
President's comments came hours after the office of the DNI, Director of National Intelligence, put out this statement yesterday, and it reads in part: the intelligence community concurs with the wide scientific consensus that the COVID-19 virus was not man-made or genetically modified. The IC will continue to rigorously examine emerging information and intelligence to determine whether the outbreak began through contact with infected animals or if it was the result of an accident at a laboratory in Wuhan. With us now is Frank Figliuzzi, 25-year veteran of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, served as the Bureau's Assistant Director for Counterintelligence. He is also, of course, an NBC News national security contributor. Frank, you follow this very closely. You know the president wants desperately for the storyline to read that this was a Chinese-originated crisis, should have been, could have been stopped by them after, patient zero at the local level. You also know that this is not the first time that wishes and or beliefs have collided with the rigor of the Intelligence Committee doing its job.
Brian, we've got a problem here, and it reminds me of the fable of the boy who cried wolf. That was a boy who just lied so many times that when the truth truly mattered, nobody believed him. We've got a president that's had such disdain for his intelligence community, ignored them and twisted them and come up with his own theories so many times that now when the truth really matters and when the intel really matters, we won't know whether to believe him or not. So that puts the intelligence community between a rock and a hard place. They want to be honest brokers of what they've got and what they don't have. And then the president may take what they have, a core of something, a chit-chat, some intercept somewhere, and turn it into something that serves his political purpose. So that's problem number one, is belief and trust in the president and what he does with intelligence or not. The second issue, though, Brian, and this is really important because I keep hearing the media report that he is at odds now over this with his intel community. And I want to point something out because I learned this during my days running part of the anthrax investigation, the crime scene down in Boca Raton in 2001. And that is that a virus can be naturally occurring, but also be leaked out of a laboratory or carried out of a laboratory. So I want to be very careful here in saying that these are not mutually exclusive. The DNI saying that there's no evidence that this was genetically engineered or weaponized, and in fact that it looks totally natural, is not inconsistent with the fact that it might have been experimented with or possessed or contained in a laboratory in Wuhan and leaked out. So I want to make that important distinction here. In fact, if you recall the anthrax case, it was our conclusion, at least general consensus, that it came from a specific flask at Fort Detrick, Maryland, in a USAMRIID highly secure laboratory. So let's make sure we understand that it's not yet inconsistent to say it's natural, but it might have come from a lab.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.